Okay, go live.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hey, howdy mighties. I just noticed it was 8:01 because I'm reading all your notes and I'm loving it so much. It's so great to see everyone. I swear. This is I feel like I'm with old friends. It's just someday maybe we have a big party and everyone gets together somewhere, maybe in the Chesapeake, maybe in Florida, maybe Ontario. What fun would that be? It's really, I just love meeting up with everyone. So let me click on this so that I can get my Facebook folks in. There we go. All righty. So much fun. Really, it's hard to not read everything everyone says. There's someone else from Ontario, Jane's from Ontario. So, hi folks. How are you? You're looking pretty good. So, you know that if you're new here and you don't know me, I'm Joette Calabrese, and I'm a homeopath for over 3 decades, a mom who raised her kids without a single trip to a medical doctor. And I'm a homeopathic teacher and your teacher. If you already know me, welcome, friends. It's always nice to see everyone coming in. Hello from Placerville, California. Hello from Camano Island. I don't know where that is. Camano Island. I don't know what state that is, or if it's even in the U.S. Mine says player. Okay, I've got player air. That is so nice of you. Well, it is my pleasure to see everyone. Tennessee, Franklin, Tennessee. I love to see where everyone's from. Muscatine, Iowa. Muscatine, I think it is. From Albuquerque, Kirky. I love the way that's spelled. Yes, beautiful. Shout out to BP Beeps or BC Peeps. Wonderful to see everyone. Oh, Susan Green, I see you over here, and my old friend Susan Green, and folks from Illinois, and let's see, blessings. It's so wonderful to see everyone. Donna, hello from Mighty Members in Missouri. Thank you. I know orange is my color. I know orange is my color. When you've got dark skin, I guess I have olive skin. Orange looks pretty good. Looks better on me than something like yellow, or for example, I don't look so good in yellow. It looks like I'm sanguine. Yeah, well, I love every Monday night too with you too, Carol. It's wonderful to see everyone. So I want to remind you that we meet every Monday night. I don't have to tell you. I know most of you are here for that reason, but we meet every Monday night at 8:00 Eastern Standard Time, and I teach you from my Materia Medica. Tonight we're going to go to the, and sometimes we veer off, right, folks? Sometimes we like to do that because there are sometimes issues that come up in the world, and here's the Materia Medica. Should you be interested, but you know that there are many Materia Medicas, right? You understand that the great minds, not mine. Mine is a very simple Materia Medica just for everyday home use. But there are great minds that have been put to task to author Materia Medicas from a century ago, even longer ago than that, even 2 centuries ago. And so Materia Medicas are very important because they are the medicines. They're the materials of our medicines. And it teaches us which medicines to use. No, it teaches us what these medicines are about, what their ability is. So for those of you who are not Mighty members, do consider it because I always give the Mighties a little more information. I get a little more personal and tell them stories about myself and how homeopathy has helped me in my little corner of the world. And so tonight we're going to be talking about hay fever. There's a lot of interest, a lot of interesting information about hay fever. Many homeopaths originally felt that, and I tend to believe that this is a very possible good theory that's probably been proven time and again. So maybe it's not so theoretical any longer. Is that hay fever is a result of fever when a child who's had suppressed fever early on. So the child has had fevers. It was suppressed with Tylenol. In the old days, it was aspirin, acetaminophen. You suppress a fever. We should never suppress a fever. I assume many of you know that. If you don't, then go to my blog titled Get Your Kids High. Joette Calabrese, Get Your Kids High. So the suppressed fever, I think the least of our problems is that we might get hay fever. There are lots of other more sobering conditions that can result from suppressing a fever and not allowing it to blossom, or just treating it herbally or with foods or with, of course, homeopathy. And those are the exceptions to the rules. But as soon as we use something synthetic, it can cause a more deepening of a condition and drive it to a more chronic state later in life. So sometimes it can be debilitating, and sometimes it's not so bad. It's just a little mild touch of it. I have suffered from hay fever through the years, and not so much as lately as I have for many years ago. But it was even now, every once in a while, my eyes get a little swollen and itchy. And I know that it's the high pollen count in Florida. I didn't have that so much in the north. I've had it more prominently in Florida. And I've talked about what I've used, and it works. And it only shows up once in a while. It's a lesser degree every time it happens to me, which is exactly the way homeopathy is supposed to work, as you remember. So, okay, so tonight we're going to talk about a medicine called sanguinaria. Sanguinaria, Sanguinaria, sanguinaria. Exactly. That's the beauty of homeopathy, because it's in Latin. It's really easy to pronounce these words because it's Latin, and Latin is super easy to pronounce. It is phonetic. It's exactly how it looks. So it's called bloodroot, interestingly. I'm going to read a little bit from my Materia Medica, and then I'm going to tell you a little story about myself, and I'm going to help you differentiate between sanguinaria and another medicine. So sanguinaria, my friends, is prepared from the rhizome of the herb bloodroot. Rhizome, is that twisty kind of, the way ginger looks. It's kind of a root that's kind of like a gingery type of thickening, and a rounded root, also known as bloodroot, tedderroot, tedderwort, etc., etc. And as an herb, it is used to treat a number of health conditions, especially respiratory. Now, most people think respiratory means here, but I'm going to tell you respiratory can mean all the way up or all the way down, from the nose to the sinuses, into even the eustachian tubes, down to the throat, and into the lungs. So sanguinaria is a most effective in treating problems of the mucous membranes, especially of the respiratory tract, such as bronchitis, hay fever, sensitivity to grass, flowers, and fragrance, inflammation of the larynx, nasal and laryngeal polyps, as well as asthma accompanied by raw burning sensation in the mucous membranes. So key symptoms indicating a need for sanguinaria include even dehydration, rawness, and burning sensation in the mucous membranes, and phlegm. So in addition, I'm just going to read this, and then we'll go back and I'll parse it out for you. Sanguinaria is also used for indigestion and intermittent coughs, such as those from flu or whooping cough, throbbing headaches, and migraines that are worse over the right eye. So rheumatic pains in the right shoulder that can make it difficult for the person to lift the arm, and hot flushes during menopause. Okay, so sanguinaria is especially useful for headaches over the right eye, especially if it has something to do with the sinuses. So let's see if anyone remembers or knows the medicine that is great for sinus pain, in which it presents over the left eye. See if anyone remembers that, because we have talked about that in the past, and see if you do, and then we can compare them somewhat. So it's for blocked nasal passages. It's also for snoring. Interesting, isn't it? So what else is related to sinuses and sleeping, and that the swelling of the mucosal membrane, is sleep apnea. So this is one of my favorite medicines, friends. This is a writer downer for sleep apnea. You bet. You mean, some people say to me, I can do without that machine roaring all night long having to wash that thing and clean it out all the time and carry it with me on trips. Yeah, it has happened for a lot of people. I've worked with many folks for which this is help, sanguinaria. And what potency do we use? We use sanguinaria 200C. Now, if you find, and this is true of any homeopathic medicine, that you get worse after using a medicine, this does not mean it's necessarily an aggravation. It means that it is likely the wrong medicine. When the medicine makes you worse, stop. Just stop. It'll just, for the most part, it will just stop doing anything after a while. You could antidote it if you wanted to. The reason I'm bringing this up is because people have said to me, oh my gosh, this has caused so much havoc because I kept taking it for, 3 months. Well, you don't take a medicine if it's doing something that's uncomfortable, it's causing trouble. Then it means it's the wrong medicine. Just like if you drink too much water, it causes you to stay up all night long and urinate. Just like if you eat too much salt, you might feel all puckered up and too dried up. Just like if you eat too much pasta, you gain weight. Anytime we do something that's not quite right for us, we should naturally, automatically, prudently stop doing that. So, okay, let's see if anyone has an idea of the medicine in which there's sinus pain that presents above the left eye. Let's see if anyone in my mighties. Let's see. No sound or video from my end. Why is that happening? Perry, is there any problem with all of this? No. Yeah, we'll have it up here as a recording. If you're not getting it right, play or error here too. I don't understand it. Oh, for crying out loud. I swear. Okay, Janie. Hi, Janie. Says, I had hay fever for years until homeopathy uprooted it. Loved your Facebook Live about Sabadillo recently. It was wonderful in stopping my sneezing fits. I took 1 dose of 30C 2 days ago, and it stopped the sneezing in less than 5 minutes, and it hasn't recurred. Very happy. I'm happy for you, Janie. It's nice to see you here. Janie lives in England. Signed in the third time and still can't. Third time can't. There's some problem going on, Perry. I don't know what to do. Let's see what's happening here on Facebook. Hello from Toronto and North Florida. Let's see. Mighty member from Massachusetts. Cali bicromium is the first one I see, Dolly. Hi, Dolly. You got it. So the medicine that is specific for, so did Melinda get it. So did Meredith. Let's see if we've got anyone else. I'm not telling you that you can't use something else, Spigelia, etc. But for sinus pain that is that starts above the left eye and then maybe goes to the right eye or spreads across the forehead is often Kali bicromium, Kali bicromium. Whereas this medicine we're talking about tonight, sanguinaria, starts on the right, above the right eyebrow, and sometimes can spread. Interesting differential. It will help you determine, this is a sinus issue. I don't know what to use. It started above the left eye and it's very predominantly so, then you're going to go more towards Kali bicromium. And in that case, I like to use Kali bicromium in a 30th potency. I've talked about how I used to get sinus headaches every time there was a barometric pressure change, and Kali bicromium just aborted the whole thing. I'd had them for years. Ever since I'd lived in the South in Baton Rouge for a while. And before that, I lived in Washington, D.C. And when I moved back to Buffalo, I found that barometric pressure change was driving me crazy because I lived right, Buffalo's on the lake, on Lake Erie. And so it was very burdensome. And I was taking codeine pills and all kinds of ridiculous things. And so I finally figured out with homeopathy what I needed to do. Kali bicromium 30C. Maybe it was a 30X, but it wouldn't matter, to be honest. 30X or 30C would have worked. Now, the first time I took it once, and that was my mistake because I didn't know enough about homeopathy at the time. I didn't know you should repeat it maybe if you're in a lot of pain, and I often was. You could easily take Kali bicromium, for example, every 15 minutes for the first hour. Some people call that loading. some say, well, that you just need to do it because you have to meet the intensity of the symptoms with the frequency of the medicine. So it's two ways of looking at it. And so I ended up taking only one dose and didn't get any relief. And the next time I did a little more of my homework and realized indeed I needed to repeat it. However, at that time, I think I repeated it every 4 hours. And that was that. I think I took it again. I think another headache, maybe a month or so. It was so long ago. It was back in the 80s that I took it again, and that was the end of it. Never had a sinus headache again. Never. Even though I no longer live in Buffalo, I lived there many years and still was not plagued by it. So that's my Kelly Bicromium story. The sanguinaria story, Buster, our little poodle, sleeps at the foot of our bed, and he snores. And so I decided one day I've had it with the snoring Buster. I cannot sleep with a snoring dog. So I gave him Sanguinaria 200, and I gave it to him twice daily for a few days, and it stopped it. But then it came back again. I'm going to say it came back about a month or so later, maybe 3 weeks. Repeated it again, Sanguinaria 200C, twice a day for a few days, and it stopped it again. And it took care of it for quite some time. He's about due for it again because I noticed some heavy breathing. It's not so velvety anymore when he's sleeping. I'm noticing some heavy breathing, and so I'm going to have to probably administer it to him again. So, all right, let me just see what's going on. Okay, Janie signed in for the third time and still can't hear after clicking. Perry says he's working on it. Some people are getting through, others are not. Constant player error. Is this the remedy she is covering now? Yes. So it will be, trust me, if you don't get it live tonight, don't worry. You'll be able to watch it either later, much later tonight or tomorrow. Can't hear the sound. Oh, for goodness sakes. Some people hear, right? Some of you can hear. Mine keeps cutting out. Mighty's isn't working. Let's see if Facebook is working. Okay, it sounds like Facebook is working. Sanguinaria has been a lifesaver for my migraines with Belladonna 30C. Good going. Sleep apnea, Sanguinaria 200C twice a day. Sometimes we use it for a few weeks. Sometimes it only takes a few nights. If there's no improvement after a couple of weeks of using that, then I would back out completely. Okay. Yep, it says the membership site is not working. Oh, for goodness sakes. How did it help your sleep apnea? It just does. It just keeps the person's not, it's not gasping. Now, this is what I found with sleep apnea and sanguinaria is that the person can still have sleep apnea, but it's not as extreme. Or they can still be wakened in the night, or sometimes you don't even know that you're waking with sleep apnea. But it's not as often. And how do they know? Because they are not fatigued when they get up in the morning or for the rest of the following day. That's how we know that the sleep apnea is improving. All righty. Couldn't sign in on Mighty's site. Oh, for goodness sakes. Here you find. Oh, I'm glad you can hear me on Facebook. You could also use Sanguinaria daily or every other day. I've used it both ways, folks. I've used it both ways. Yep, both. And so how do I make a decision on how frequently to use a medicine? When I have a protocol, I follow it pretty much exactly, but sometimes the protocols leave a little bit of space for us to be able to follow through in another way. And so if the sleep apnea is very severe or the snoring is very severe and the whole family is hearing this person snore, or this person is just not getting good, deep sleep, that's when I'm more likely to use it in a course 200C twice a day for a while. But if it's a milder version, then yeah, every other day could very well be just the ticket. Okay, I'm on Facebook and it's working. All righty. Let's see what else we can't watch on Mighty's tonight. Oh, for goodness sakes. Kelly Bicromium was a lifesaver for me too with the barometric pressure headaches. Thank you, Joette. You're very welcome, Tammy. I'm delighted to hear it. Is there anything I can do from this end?
I don't know.
Some technical problem. We always have technical problems, it seems.
We'll have it sorted out.
Yeah.
We'll get a copy up there.
Yeah, you'll get a copy up there and and Mighty's. We'll get it up there. Yep. Yep. I used to have horrible sinus infections with headaches and extreme facial pressure. So bad I couldn't feel the plates expand and contract. I could feel the plates expand and contract. Oh boy. Sanguinaria 200 plus belladonna. See, now that's interesting because with the belladonna, we mix the sanguinaria with belladonna. That is for when it is very painful. Belladonna is excellent. And belladonna can be used in a 3 or a 6, and they can be taken together as a combination. All right. Let's see. I'm sorry I can't get to my mighties. Sounds perfect over here on Facebook. I hear just fine on Facebook. Good. Absolutely. Facebook is working. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now let's see if we've got player error shows up on my screen. Now let's see. Let me scroll down a bit. If an elderly person took Sanguinaria 200 and had a strong reaction, do you think 30C might be better? It's possible. But I will tell you that I find that the 200 is really just about right for most everyone. But it's worth a try. And Sanguinaria belladonna is amazing, says Leanne. And let's see. It cuts out every 15 seconds. Then I refresh and it works for another 15 seconds. Well, we'll work on that. For stuffed up nose, yes, it can be used for potentially a stuffed up nose. Our cat snores loudly. Would one single boron pellet in his water dish do the trick? I don't think a single pellet. I don't count on a single pellet. There was a time when I used to experiment with that, and I'm not saying that it won't act. I'm just saying that you might find better results if you follow the directions on the bottle. Truly, 4 pellets, 3 to 4 pellets, and yeah, I put it in his water. All right. What about people who are allergic to dust and mold and get runny and sneezy? Okay. So what you're looking for is, what is the cause? I haven't said the cause tonight, right? We don't necessarily need to know the etiology. I think of it this way. I didn't say tonight sanguinaria is for sinus conditions for when people are allergic to tomatoes or when they're allergic to the spring, pollen in the spring, or it's for people who have pollen problems. We're not looking for necessarily the cause. We're looking for the result. How is this presenting? What are the symptoms? And remember, for those who are new, we don't treat symptoms with homeopathy. We use the symptoms to determine the medicine. So we're using these symptoms that sanguinaria is known to address. And in doing so, we'll automatically address the whole condition if it's the correct medicine. And that whole condition includes allergies to cats, allergies to dust, allergies to mold, etc., etc. It's not the only way we can do this because we may have to go deeper than this. And I have a course titled Allergic. So if you want to go deeper than this, if this doesn't act, or you need more information, then we can also use sanguinaria in addition to something else that works a little deeper specifically for allergies. But meanwhile, we've got a very good medicine. All right. How do you know how to choose between them? Between calibicromium and sanguinaria? Well, the most obvious is where the pain is located. Both are above the eyes, but one is on the left eye, above the left eye. That's calibicromium. And sanguinaria, the pain is on the right eye. All right. Good. What potency to migraines and sanguinaria? Okay, we already talked about that. Yeah, sanguinaria for the arm pain. I'm glad you brought that up because isn't that interesting? You don't need, and I want to mention this to you, when you look at a materia medica, you do not need to you don't have to check every one of the boxes. Well, I don't have the arm pain, so sanguinaria can't be of any value. Or I don't have the sinus issue, so the pain, using this for the arm pain will have no value. No, you can't have them all. It's impossible for you to suffer all the conditions of one medicine, because what these medicines do when you're looking at a materia medica is they represent a very large segment of society who have been involved in the provings or in the clinical experiences of many of the doctors who have contributed to materia medicas. So it would be almost impossible. So let's talk about that. Here we go. Sanguinary is used for the headaches. I just want to get to this one part for the arm. Where did I put that? Rheumatic pains. There it is. Rheumatic pains in the right shoulder that make it difficult for the person to lift the arm. In the right shoulder, and it makes it difficult for the person to lift the arm. So it's not the left shoulder, right? I just said it's the right shoulder. So make sure you've got that correct. It doesn't mean if it's both shoulders, it can't act, but it's more likely to be the correct medicine when it is affecting the right shoulder and it's difficult for the person to lift that arm. Got it? Yes. Buster picks the pellets up off the floor. He's a smart doggy. And you also place it in the pet's mouth. For my cat, I hold his mouth shut till he swallows the pill. Yeah, or you want him to, actually, it's even better to have them keep it in the mouth rather than swallow it, but it's in the mouth for a long enough time. What we want these pills to do is to be in the mouth and dissolve in the mucosal somewhat. And you can chew them. It's very hard to keep a dog or a child from chewing homeopathic medicine once it's put in the mouth. But as long as it's a clean mouth, meaning there's no food in there, and you're getting it into the mucosa, inside the lips, in the gums, under the tongue, the palate, etc. All right. And so I just read before we got started tonight that what was the temperature? Somebody said out west, it was 109 or something. Somebody said 109. Be mindful of that, folks. Make sure you're drinking water with salt. And the remedy, we've talked about this already in our Materia Medica, but the remedy for heat stroke or heat exhaustion. And I want to give you as much information as I can. I've got 2 minutes to be able to do that. Is glanoinum. G-L-O. I got to look it up. I-N. Let me find it. I can't do it off the top of my head without writing it out. Glanoinum. 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 I like to use that in a 30th potency. That's for heat stroke or heat exhaustion. And that could be very, very useful. Sometimes people don't even realize that that's happening. But I wanted to pass that along to you. If all you have is a Sanguinaria 30, would you still use it twice a day? I would still, until the 200 comes along, I would use what I've got. Use what you've got until you can get what you need. So that is the way I would do it. Not related, but I have to mention that I had a home birth on 6/10. And my placenta was taking a long time to come away. I ended up using Sepia 30 every 15 minutes. And after the third dose, it finally worked. Good job, Jody. Good job. Take heed, folks. It's very important for people to know this. That would not be the first medicine. It might be the second medicine, I would think, for an undelivered placenta. But it's a good one. Nice job. All right. Let's see if we've got anything else. Anything else here? Total time was close to 2 hours. Said no. Oh, beautiful. Note that I had pushed my 12-pound baby out in just 15 minutes. 12 pounds. God bless you. It's a beautiful thing. I had big babies too, and I'm a small person. My last one was 10 pounds. And I was at that time, I was 5'1". I don't know that I'm 5'1" anymore. So those are big babies, 12-pound babies. That's like a Thanksgiving turkey. All right. It's 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I just, folks, I just want to remind you, remember, big business, big tech, big government. They've got these programs, and I believe they try to kind of program us against our code, our biological code. That is that women want to be mothers and not necessarily to their own children. In every case, maybe to their pets and to their nieces and nephews and to others. They want to be caregivers. Women want to care for their families. It's just the natural way. We gravitate towards tending towards those who need our children, our pets, our livestock, our elderly parents. And while men want to fend for the family, they want to protect, they want to fight for the wife and children and for the community. It's built into us. It's our code, folks. And I want to remind you of this because it's important that we, all of us, remember this. Because I want you, don't give it away, my friends. Take back your sovereignty. Don't let big business, big industry, big government, big anything take it away from you. Homeschool your children if you must, instead of allowing the educational system influence your children in the wrong way. You need to make the decision. I want you to arm yourself with what you need. You want to flex your muscles and gain your guts, spunk, and of course, moxie. And so I say, God bless all of you. It's wonderful to see you all. I'm clicking out. Hold on, and I'll be able to do that. And I say, God bless all of you. Mwah. Good night, everyone. See you next week.